and welcome to week 3. For week 3, you're going to start with your overview. We're really digging into understanding what rhetoric is and working towards a rhetorical analysis. We won't write that this week, we'll write that next week, but we're working on really thinking about what rhetoric is, how writers use it, and how they use ethos or their credibility, pathos, which is emotion, or logos, which is logic, or a combination of those to really be effective in their writing, to choose strategies that are going to appeal to their reader and to be convincing. So you can see that your reading and writing assignments for this week are all aligned to various course objectives and outcomes. So this middle part just breaks that down for you. But ultimately, you want to, go through all of the reading that you'll be doing. Actually, I think there's just a couple more in there. I'll add those to this list. But you'll be looking at rhetoric, what, the rhetorical triangle is comprised of, what is the rhetorical situation, and then start to think about not only a rhetorical analysis, but beginning to draft. But this week, your writing assignment, your big writing assignment, is actually what we call a response. And that's where you've read something and you don't summarize it, you respond to it. So you're going to be working on that this module. You're going to be working on your writing journal, of course, and you have your discussion forum where you're going to respond to the prompt by Thursday and to have 2 replies by Saturday. All right, so like I said, I think there's a couple more reading assignments. I'll add those to that overview for you, but you're going to, just move through these links. Once again, you don't need to have a textbook for this class. All of your readings are linked or linked to a file. So you're just going to move through and think about just kind of developing your mind around a rhetorical analysis. And remember, a rhetorical analysis really works on describing how a writer put something together, not what they said, but how they said it. Of course, you can mix in, a bit of what they said, but you're really, explaining that they used various strategies to say it in this way. And like I said, we're going to do a little bit more of that. You want to be thinking about drafting. You want to be thinking about paragraphing and drawing conclusions. But ultimately, your assignments this week, you can see, again, always a staggered set of due dates due to the discussion forum being due by Saturday. So you've got your forum. First post is due Thursday, response by Saturday, and then you've got your 2 assignments due on Sunday. And one student asked about the time of assignment submissions. If you're ever, all of our assignments are due at 11:59 p.m. on any given day that their due date is assigned. But if you're ever unsure, you can go to the calendar feature in Canvas, and you'll notice right up at the top it is the due date and the due time. So that might be helpful. All right, let's go back to our module. All right, let's look at this discussion forum. All right, so the question is that you're going to take the I Have a Dream speech and you're going to think about it rhetorically. So you want to read through the speech itself, and you've probably heard it a few times. You want to identify at least 2 rhetorical appeals that he uses to persuade his readers. And then you want to show your understanding of these rhetorical appeals by clearly explaining how the appeals are being used, using paraphrasing or quoting direct examples from the text. So he uses logos, and then you should be able to come up with an example of how he's used logos. And you also want to think about why the use of logos in this way is effective, or it could be ineffective. Similarly, if you chose pathos, you want to not only describe that he uses pathos, but what's an example from the speech that shows his use of emotion, and then why is it important that he did it that way, that he used pathos in his speech. So you're going to respond to this question, and then this response must be a number of well-developed paragraphs. I would say, in the 300 to 400 word range. and then you're going to respond to 2 of your classmates. So total of 3 posts. One's due by Thursday, your initial response. The other 2 are due by Saturday, all at 11:59 p.m. And then as you move to, let's skip to the writing journal because I want to take a little more time on that response. So your writing journal is also 300 to 400 word paragraph answering the following questions. How do you use reading, writing, and language in your everyday experiences? How do you use reading, writing, and language similarly and or differently in various settings? And why do you think that happens? So you're just, your journals are, free kind of responses. You want to think about, obviously, this is a writing class and there's a rubric attached to it. So you want to make sure that you fall into the parameters of that. But let's look at this response for a minute. So the goal of the assignment is to learn and practice key strategies and concepts that expert writers use to enter into this greater conversation. So we always think about writing as there's the conversation out there about, let's just say, the social media, the impact of social media on youth. And then as you write or another person writes, they're entering into that conversation. They're part of that conversation. They're adding some insight into that conversation because of maybe some of their experiences. So you're taking on that role. You're going to be reading that text, which you've read before. This is really writing again. You'll be reading that text, so you'll get a chance to reread it. You want to really listen to what the author is saying and then develop your own view on the issue. So how do you enter in this discussion about writing and writing particularly at the college level? So you'll not only need to have original ideas, but you also need to speak to the author who has already joined in that conversation. So you want to connect your ideas about what this author has said about writing. And so again, as illustrated, this is part of what we call a conversation cycle. You listen to what others are saying about an issue. In this case, you're reading it. You develop your own position on it. You can, go back to that original piece, annotate, elaborate, synthesize, but you want to directly connect your position to the conversation taking place. So you want to think of a response as the author said this, and I respond in this way. So you can kind of think about it in a they say, I say pattern, right? So you've read this article that presents several ideas within the text about writing. You want to engage with one or more of these ideas in a way that you choose. So you're going to, like I've said before, you want to reread. And then throughout the process of developing the essay, you should be careful to fulfill the following tasks. You want to generate your own take on this. So you don't want to just summarize. We've already done that. You want to think about, the author said this. My response to that is this. The author has said this. My response to this next point is, and you'll kind of move through that pattern. All right. So it's kind of taking the words of the expert and applying it to your own experiences to respond as if you were in a conversation with that author. All right. And then you've got your 500 word minimum. You're using MLA 9th edition. You've got your rubric here. Definitely, as always, as you move through the assignments for the week or the readings, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask.